Ooh.
So if you're here, leave comments because we're gonna try to level up.
Yeah. It's level up time.
Sorry, I got a message from Rich Woodall.
Hilarious. Wrong
That's
right. Wrong right.
right.
Was that your opening for me to hit the intro button? Did I fail?
Well, we got to level. Well, I kept talking after. I think you were going for it, and you're like, "Hey, he
Yeah,
didn't
I
shut
went to
up
switch tabs and then it's like you kept going like, oh, okay, maybe not.
because there was a Rich, but it is not
Just,
the Rich we are looking for."
you're not the rich we are looking for.
All right,
I think it's time to level up.
let's level up. What's up, man?
What's up?
What's up?
Everybody here's what's up. If you feel me, say what's up.
Yeah, is there anybody in the chat? Is anybody
That's all.
confused because it's not 9 o'clock and we're live?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one yet, but
There's no one.
it'll be a trickle. It's always a trickle.
Be a trickle. So we said that comic level up too early, is what you're saying.
Yep. You can't level up too early, or the rest of the game is too easy.
Right. Well, I feel like tonight's episode is going to be us in the grinding. Sometimes you got like in a Final Fantasy, you
Yep.
just got to grind for a little bit. You just got to go out into that field and kill things. And I
Yeah.
know you overpower it now, but you need to make sure that all of your characters have the proper gear. So if you have to kill another 12 to 25 to 100 monsters to
Yep.
get that piece to finish that leg part, you got to do it.
It's when you catch the new Pokemon and it's like 5 to 8 levels behind your current party, and you're just like, put the XP share on them. That's fine, but really you want to get them that full XP because it's just taking so long. Yeah.
I know you're a big gamer. What is your favorite Final Fantasy?
6.
6. Okay.
I love Final Fantasy. 7's great, and I know that's like everybody's like go-to one.
You like the last classic, like goodness.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I love it.
Even 9 when they went back.
I did like 9. 9 is up there for me. It'd be like 6, 7, 9.
Okay.
Would be my top 3 because I think 7's better than 9. I'm not getting like that crazy.
I even like 8. I know a lot of people don't like 8, but I enjoyed 8. And maybe it's just the card game. Maybe it's just a card game.
It's the Gwent of it all. Yeah.
My favorite is, which sounds odd, especially since I'm older, is 10. I really like 10.
I was close. 10? I was going to guess 10 too.
10 too. I only like chicks.
Sure. Yep.
What I never understood about 10 too is why you could still play Blitzball. Like that didn't make any sense.
Right. The 10 was so pretty for the time. I remember just being like gobsmacked by the graphics.
Right.
Which I should play because they remastered it. I should go and play because I bet you it's what's in my head is actually what the remaster actually looks like. Because in my head, it's freaking gorgeous.
I've been playing it. The problem is some of that old school gameplay, because new school the gameplay, sometimes hard to get back into. So I can only play it a little bit at a time.
They didn't update that side of it at all.
They did a little bit. It's a little bit faster, but it's not like I don't even know the last one, 15. Where you're going back.
That's just Wild Town. That's yeah.
And then I liked. So I get so confused because I don't love Final Fantasy as much as I did when I was a kid.
Sure.
What was the one where you played Lightning? The chick called Lightning. Was that 13?
Yeah, was that because it wasn't 12? Couldn't be 12. So yeah,
12 was online, right?
Yeah. Right? Or is that 11? No, it's 12. It's 12. Ugh. It's been way too long. Because I've fallen off of it. Like, I went through one time on the new one, which is insane for me. Only playing Final Fantasy one time through and being done with the game.
Yeah, I haven't even beaten the newest one, the one with the wedding when you're on the bachelor party.
Uh-huh.
I just want to hang out with my bros. Like, there's no reason to go to that wedding. Like, that wedding is not exciting to me. Like, I've got a car. and I can
Sure.
just drive around and hang out with my bros.
So you really liked Tom King's Batman run then?
Right, right. I did actually. They're trying to talk some crap there, but I absolutely did. You are correct.
Oh, I mean, it's well established how much I hate that run.
Right.
I hate it.
The dream was a little rough. That was a little stressful.
Yeah, Nightmares, not my cup of tea. Ballad of Kite Man, incredible,
Right.
great. I didn't need that many issues.
Right.
Master of the Mini.
Well, and then I dropped off in the beginning when everyone loved it. When they brought Gotham Knight in, the two flying, the brother sister. I was like, nope. They fly naturally. They don't belong in no Gotham.
Right? It's like, get your Superman out of here.
I don't want none of that. But then when I got to the ending and the whole story, I was like, oh, they're kind of cool. I like what they're all about.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
So we should probably talk about the elephant in the room, even though nobody's watching, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have Rich Douek, and there must have been a miscommunication. Either I didn't send out the messages in time, which rightfully so, it was like 5 minutes before. Two, something happened, and he's maybe dead. I hope not. I don't think he's dead, but he could be. I don't believe so.
I could be too, I suppose.
I believe that as a Christian, God would let him go to the show first before he died.
Yep, that seems right.
That's a solid belief. I mean,
I read that in the Bible of streaming.
Yeah, Jesus had a Super Bowl commercial. I mean, he really cares about media.
Yep. He's really into new media.
Yeah,
he's into big ad buys.
Yeah. Don't tax the church, guys. They don't have any money.
No, that money couldn't be used for anything better.
Right. No, nothing. So I don't know where he is at. So we're here hanging up. Can I see his cool intro though? I want to see his cool intro.
Yeah, let's watch. Rich Douek's intro,
just in case we can't reschedule. Like I know we can, but just in case. Let's see it.
Yeah.
Yo, can we talk about that Gutter Magic cover?
It's really good.
I have never seen that cover in my life.
It's really good. I grabbed it when I was looking at the covers to choose to grab. I was like, dang, that one's really good.
Do you have that one? Can you bring it up?
Is it the one that's
is one of the ones? If it's not, it's no big deal.
Nope.
All right.
I got just the number ones. I usually just do number ones for the showing.
It makes sense.
But it's a real good. It's a looker. Yeah. And I'm really sad that I took Woodall's off because it'd be funny. I wish I would have had that queued so I could have played Woodall's intro when you're asking for Douek's.
Yeah, Rich Woodall would have loved that.
Yes.
I love that. He's a big fan.
Hopefully we'll get to talk to him soon because I have a lot of his books and I would like to talk to him again because it's been a long time. I haven't talked to him since like early Burrito.
I've thought, and then I love this week. This is not what I expected that book to be about.
No, me either. I
don't know what I expected,
guys.
Like this book looks like it's going to be like I don't know what it looks like. Like I
had no expectations other than it's Rhoda Bones guys.
Yeah, like this cover screams to me like Mayans, which I guess is not inaccurate.
No, but it's not. It's great. It was really good.
It was really good.
And like with a team like Douek, Cormac, and Birch, come on.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Right. No, it was a solid, good book. Super excited about it. So hopefully you read it. But yeah, so that's what's going on. I didn't want to not go live. Todd was okay with not going live, but I was not. I was like, I just want to say hi. So we're not going to stay a long time because, I probably messed up. That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
So What's new with you? What'd you read last week? I read a lot of books last week. I've been actually catching up because I haven't felt good, so I've been reading more.
I haven't been reading a ton. I did read that. That's one of the few that I've read since last week because that's a creative team that I'm insta reading.
Right.
It's like a Williams or a Cleveland or a Gibbs.
Oh,
You get it and you read it immediately.
I mean, I'd get more people to read my book if I get Alex Cormack. I'm just saying.
It doesn't hurt. Where's my? Oh, here's my file from this past week because I didn't make it to the shop, so I'm a little behind because I got 2 new dogs in the last week. One of them was today. Both rescues, and we're watching dogs for an extended amount of time. So I have 5 dogs in my house right now.
Wow. And no dog barks.
Yeah, it does. They both do. This is one of my favorite things that's happened in a while. Thanks, DC. It's fucking hilarious. Look at that.
Okay.
Aquaman Harley Quinn romance cover.
And so what is it about? I did not get that.
It's like romance stories in the DC universe. It's an anthology style. So there's a bunch of different styles. A lot of good people are in it. Alexis Sarno, Amanda Dibert, Greg Lockard.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of good up-and-comers.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of like people that you know, but not DC people. Right. So that was really cool. So I really enjoyed that. I mostly bought it for the cover, and then I liked the book.
Well, and the title is fantastic.
Right. This was good.
Yeah, I like that. That.
Cullen Bunn. It's good to see him coming back with a number 1. It's been a while. It's been at least 2 weeks since I've read a Bunn number 1, so it was nice to get to read another one.
It's good. Crazy when a horror line for Source Point Press is announced, but he still has 6 other horror books and other books.
Yeah.
And then
or what's the?
He goes, I'm also doing my.
Yeah. Right. It's wild. And I think that's all I've read. I'm excited to read the new Magic, DC Power, the Black History Month book. I got this Invincible, so I have enough number 1s.
Well, Magic the Gathering is a Douek's book.
Yeah, it is.
Jed McKay, and I don't read that because Magic is a card game.
I bought number 1 just to have because I like the card game, and it fucking sucked me in. And I'm at 23, and I've bought all of the tie-ins and all the other things they do. It's great. It's really. It's
crazy that because I read it back in the day when you got the free Magic card. That was always bad.
That was great. I'm really disappointed they didn't do that with me.
I am also disappointed.
But yeah, Douek is on this, which is amazing. That's not how it started. I forget when he hopped on.
Well, he's still he's co-writing it with Jed
McKay. Right? But in the beginning, it was just McKay.
Apparently, that Avengers gig is what I'm guessing may have.
That'll pull you away.
If I'm guessing of what may have happened, of why he may need a co-writer.
Yep. But yeah, that's my week that's my 2 weeks ago. I have like a Poison Ivy still to read I still have last week's books to grab that I'll grab tomorrow while I'm working there at the comic shop because I would never leave work to go to a comic book shop. I work at the comic book shop.
Right. Then you don't have to leave.
Then I don't have to leave. Hey, what's up, Brian?
Hey, Brian. I'm trying to think of what I read this week.
Yeah, what you read? It's a late week for me.
Books and stuff. I read, you got the new Batman. So the new Chip Zdarsky Batman and Daredevil came up. I love that Daredevil cover. That Daredevil cover is probably my favorite cover in recent memory.
Ooh.
So it's got Daredevil and Punisher. They're going at each other. It's really, really good.
Ooh, like going at each other? That's nice.
Yeah. No, it was hot.
Was it polybagged?
Yes, written by Brian Ozario. He came in for this issue. I don't know why.
Amazing. Wow. Holy shit. Marvel went for it. They're like, we never do this, but let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
It's crazy. It was the A cover.
Right. And he just got married to Elektra, so the repercussions are going to be rippling out for years.
Yes.
But it does explain their relationship up till now. It does.
Nice.
Explain
That's
it
cool.
well.
Yeah.
What else can I'm gonna have to look at my comics.
My favorite cover in a while as a Batman Detective Comics was the Hanging Man tarot card.
Oh yeah.
I really loved that cover. I almost bought the incentive version of it until I realized I owned the cover basically already. I don't need the incentive version.
I read the new Red Goblin. I thought that was good. All Against All I read, which you're probably trade waiting for that, but I highly recommend that book. I think it's right up your
Cool. Sweet.
Red Goblin was good. Better than it should be.
Nice.
You know how you know all those books. You're just like,
because it's
normie, buy
it,
right?
What's up? It's normie, right?
Yeah, it's normie is now the Red Goblin. Yeah.
Interesting. I vaguely know what's going on in the Marvel universe purely by mitosis because I work there.
Well, that's my favorite part about going in my Discord, where when I post what I read this week, and a lot of people are like, "Aren't you like the king of the indies?" Yes, so.
That doesn't mean I can't. What do you think I've been reading my whole life? The indies weren't around when I was a kid.
Right. How do you think I got here?
Yeah.
The new Storm showed up. That was cool.
Nice.
What else? Secret Invasion. Nobody read that but me. Ghost Rider. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one reading Secret Invasion, which is sad because it's Robert North, who is Ryan North, who apparently is killing it on FF. I'm not reading it because I hear it's really smart, and I don't have that time in my life.
So I don't read Hickman. I'm not gonna
right.
read that.
Right. I'm scared. Like, people are like, sign up to Hickman's Substack. It's so good. He's creating a universe. That's why I'm not signing up. It's
the Hickverse?
In the Hickverse.
Oh, man. Doesn't he do that literally every time he writes a book? That's why there's charts and shit, because each one is just a huge universe.
Right, exactly. Well, did you read, because I remember you were a big fan. You read Age of X and Way of X. We talked about it back in the day, right?
Yep. I've read those.
Did you read when you're at work tomorrow, read Sins of Sinister, and it's Karen Gillan trying to do his best John Hickman impression. And I think it's tongue-in-cheek. I think it's done on purpose. I don't think it's
okay.
It's all pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
I know we have other copies, so I could grab one during lunch and just like read it.
Yeah, it's like Karen Gillan going, Hickman, you had a really big concept, a really good idea, but remember when you put Sinister on the X-Men? That's a bad idea.
That's great.
Daniel, hey, when I had a poll, it was mainly DC, so yeah, I know what Charlie means.
Yep. That's fair. Morrison. But Morrison, Wikipedia doesn't help with Morrison. It's just nonsense. You just gotta like ride the Morrison wave and be like, it's okay, I don't know what's going on.
But it does question you, like, is this Detective Chip new, or has there always been a Detective Chip?
I've never had that issue more because I'm such a big Green Lantern guy. I was like, am I missing something, or is this a Morrison? Or is this a hole in my GL knowledge? And a couple of times it was a hole in my GL knowledge, but most of the time when I ran across it, I was just like, you son of a... God damn it.
I still haven't read that run, and I know you really want me to. I still have not read the Green Lantern Morrison run. I should ask.
You don't need to know anything. Nick went into it blind to basically all Green Lantern things and loved it. Well, you just got to be okay with not knowing shit. It's wild.
Well, I loved Green Lantern for a long time. I actually was really upset with the status quo of him just having a giant Green Lantern backpack where it could get the energy. Like, that was my favorite Hal. I was just like,
duh.
Then you don't have 1,000 Green Lanterns in America. He's just one dude who has a backpack on his back.
Yeah, he's not
technically a Green Lantern, but he's the best Green Lantern.
Yeah, he's all set. He's fine.
let's talk about that tonight for just a little bit. I don't think Rich is coming, so let's talk about that. Let's have that be our
This isn't
discussion.
Rich's fault.
Not Rich's fault. I believe it's my fault, and we'll reschedule them as quickly as we can. I'll find a night this week or next week. Maybe we'll do it next Monday. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Whatever Todd's available.
Maybe it'll be tomorrow. Who knows?
Well, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Probably not the best day.
It's just me. I'm losing people. It's just me on my own.
All right. So when do you think, as a Green Lantern fan, and I'm also a Green Lantern fan, that we went from this is a great topic. Green Lantern leveled up with Jeff Johns.
Yeah.
He leveled up, got multiple titles. We had Red Lantern title, a Yellow Lantern title.
New Guardian, Larfleeze, Sinestro. You missed
Right.
3. There's so many. The New 52 Green Lantern was like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me in comics.
Well, and it was crazy that like Batman, they knew exactly what was working. They're like, Batman seems to be doing fine.
Right? He's
Batman
good.
seems to be doing fine. Green Lantern seems to be fine. We're going to keep that continuity almost as is because it's good.
Yep. Right?
And Jeff Johns is a genius, man. Like the coming up with a clever idea of why yellow has always been a thing, tying it to Sinestro, giving him his own ring, his own core, is literally the best idea you could ever come with Green Lantern. And then you add a rainbow, a literal rainbow that most men are going to be like, that is the stupidest thing ever. And then made us go, no, you love it. You love it. You know you love it.
Yeah. And he made Kyle Rayner a White Lantern.
Right.
That was the best because my favorite Green Lantern became a White Lantern because he mastered all the whole emotional spectrum and was able to become a true White Lantern. That was the coolest.
Well, and even, I thought, because I've always felt like with all these other lanterns, and you keep Kyle white forever and make it and keep Guy red forever because it doesn't.
They should have.
It's so good, right?
Guy's perfect for it.
Yeah, he was perfect.
Give him more of an intelligence. Let him still be Guy.
Sure.
But he spews lava and is really angry all the time, which is half already the fact.
Yeah, it was super late in the run, but I love like when they finally addressed the like elephant in the room because remember the original setup was Hal like infiltrate the Red Lanterns. Like when it's late in the run where like the 5th writer on the book was like, Hal's gonna be pissed about this. And like eventually Guy is gonna be pissed about this because he was basically told like, look, man, you just need to hang out over there. We don't want you. We're doing this big epic thing.
It'll be fine. You just go do that.
So now we go to today, though, where they have only the single Green Lantern, or do they have the second nation thing? Is that? I don't even know.
Yet. Nothing's running yet. There's no current Green Lantern title right now.
That's insane.
I know. It breaks my heart in 1,000 pieces because New 52 was like the highest peak, and Morrison after Morrison and Jemison's run, N.K. Jemison, after their runs, because the fact that Grant Morrison and Far Sector were running at the same time was the closest to New 52 GL has been since then. And after they stopped, it just went downhill. They didn't have a place to go. Morrison left a hole because like you got to pick up from scratch after a Morrison run. There's no like, oh, we'll just keep this running. We can do this. We can do Grant Morrison with Liam Sharp on art. We can just continue that. No one else is going to do this. You have to pick up somewhere, and it was not a good spot. They made John. They overdid John, and
well, didn't they have the corpse book at the beginning? Wasn't there 3 books at the time? There's Final Frontier. What's that? The future one with the.
It was Future State. They did some stuff with, but they weren't to like keep running. That John.
Oh, okay. That
ran into it, but like that John ran into the backup. I think of what restarted as GL.
Okay.
It was not. It wasn't good, and I'm glad they finished up the whole story with a single issue one shot recently, like 3 weeks ago. It was John Stewart, the Emerald something or another. I can't remember, and it was fine. They finished up the story, and now there isn't a GL book running right now. Yeah, no, there's stuff coming out because they have the GL show, so
Right.
they're gonna put something out. And John Stewart's got a title, and Alan Scott is in the Justice Society book, the Golden Age book that they are running, which is Alan Scott. Oh man, I love Alan.
Yeah, I mean, it's Alan Scott written by Jeff Johns, and I think we're going to see a rise of Jeff Johns. I mean, not that we're not seeing it with his independent stuff, but I think he's going to start taking a little bit more reins in DC now that he's not doing the films. Like now that he's got pulled over,
Which I think is where he should be. It seems like that's the spot because the films, that's a whole another thing to talk about.
right. I mean, I don't know if I blame Jeff Johns, but maybe I should. I don't know.
No, that's the problem. We don't know. So it's like, go where it's safe. You're good at the comics. Bring GL back. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a crazy thing. You know, that's a huge level up. Green Lantern became having as equal amount of titles as Batman. You know, it's just crazy to think of now. And all of them slow. And I remember when the new 52 got announced, and they were like, because Sinestro ended right before it, if I'm not mistaken.
You mean like the Sinestro War?
Yeah, it was Sinestro War. They finished it up, and then when they made the announcement, we always assumed, I think everyone who was reading at the time assumed that in the new 52, Yellow Lanterns would get a book, but they're like, nah, and we did eventually.
But it was way later.
Right, it started out with Red Lantern. You're like, why is Red Lantern getting a book?
Yeah, it was Green Lantern, and then it was Green Lantern Corps and Red Lanterns. I think were the first three that started the new 52, and then New Guardians, Sinestro came out, and then Larfleeze, I think was the last new GL title to come out of New 52, which was only like 6 issues. It was like a mini. It was really weird, but I really liked Larfleeze.
Yeah,
mostly because of the character. The single orange avarice. It's just perfect. Like that's just super smart. That's not the core is just one dude.
Well, and the fact that it was more dudes at some point, but he was selfish because of the thing. It was fantastic.
Because it's Orange Lantern. Yeah, of course. So he just absorbed them and now he uses them as constructs. It's great. It's super morbid. It's really messed up.
And you have a heart for him too, because he's such the way he talks, the way he communicates, the tragedy of the character, right? It's like the Midas touch of Green Lantern. Yeah, you're probably right.
It was Sinestro War and then Blackest Night, Brightest Day, whatever. Yeah, Blackest Night, and then New 52. Man, Blackest Night was so good. My God.
I mean, the whole thing.
And that was pre New 52 was Blackest Night. That makes sense. Yeah. It's been a long time.
That whole run, there's only literally like 1 year that's bad, and it's not bad. It's just setting up everything, Sinestro War, the Blackest Night, all that stuff. It's a year of setup, so it doesn't feel as exciting.
When I read the last issue of Blackest Night, and they had this like really big like fold out page of like all the characters that encompassed like the whole story they told, I remember like literally crying because I was just like, it was one of the best payoffs I've ever had in comics. It's so hard to stick a landing, and when you have that much going on, it's even harder. Like that was so much of my life and a lot of my money invested into Blackest Night, and they fucking killed it. It was amazing.
Well, yeah, when you think about lasting effects on comics, Green Lantern's got to be the biggest one that's happened in our modern era. It's got to be the biggest with all the rings, with all the different new characters that get introduced / old characters that got revamped to modernize to fix old stuff. It's got to be the biggest one. Even like the Alan Scott stuff where they kind of redid his origin and fixed stuff. Even before they got to the new 52 when they redid it just for the old 52.
Yep.
That stuff. I mean, the only thing that's been a lasting effect that I can think of beyond that is probably Court of Owls and Batman.
I was saying, are you talking about like just something that happens that shifts the comic
Something that's never going to go
through
back.
continuity? It doesn't matter what, like it just is.
Right. Yeah, it's never going to go back to the way it was. Even if you put the genie back in the bottle of the colored rings, that's going to be
Yeah.
unpacked because it's so good.
Yeah,
Right.
it may as well be just forever canon. Like
Right.
people will be surprised going back and being like, this isn't how it always was because it's so ingrained. It doesn't matter whose story it's being told, it's part of it now.
Right.
Yeah, Court of Owls, maybe. I mean, like, I could see because they'll probably just keep that'll always be a reference. Talon keeps popping up. Talon can't stop.
All the movies and games are turning to Court of Owls. You know, everything's turning to Court of Owls because it's interesting. It's new. I think Owls is the first change to Batman continuity, and like,
yeah, I mean, Jason Todd dying.
Sure, and well, him coming back.
But him being dead at some point is always. It doesn't matter how many times they've rebooted or whatnot. There's always. It's like we're past it. We're never going back to Jason Todd as a Robin and seeing that again. We're like constantly, perpetually past Jason Todd has died, and now there's Red Hood.
Sorry, one of our hunters for Rich is just messaged me. Wally West in addition to Wally. Yeah, no, the Flash has it too. I'm just not great at Flash continuity. I know that the rogues and all that, but all that's, a lot of people give that credit to. I think a lot of modern people give it to Joshua Williamson because he was on it he's the longest writing Flash, 100 issues. But really, Mark Waid did all that. The Speed Force, all that stuff. That was Mark Waid.
Yeah, Mark Waid changed Flash for forever. Like, right. and then Williamson stretched that a ton and added all the different forces and did all this different stuff. It was a really great run. Oh man, he killed it. I want him on 100 issues of GL. I would love to see him do it. I wonder if he ever will be able to, talk about a commitment. That's nuts.
Well, and he's doing Green Arrow coming up, and he's really excited about it. Apparently Green Arrow's been his baby. In fact, that's one of the reasons why he didn't stay on Batman is because he really wants Green Arrow to pop off. But DC, flat out says DC doesn't trust that a Green Arrow book will sell. So I'm because I'm super excited. I think Josh Williams is the best thing for DC right now. He's young, up and comer. I think he's got the knowledge of Mark Waid, and he's making the right moves. Like even when he swang into Batman for a minute, I'm going to do this cool Deathstroke story that pays off for Robin for the people who are reading it. And just Scronzi's out. He's like, "Oh, I'm gone. You can have Chip now. It's fine."
Yeah.
You just announced Josh Williams on Batman, and then he's there for 6 issues. That's it.
You gave him one arc. Yeah, it's wild.
It's wild.
It would be really cool to see him just bop around, and he just does one title for a long time each time, and you get 15 years out of him, and you get 3 amazing books.
Well, what did you think of his new series that he just did?
Which one was it?
The new crossover. I'm trying to think of it. Final Crisis, was it? No.
Oh, I didn't read it. That's was it the event? Because I'm staying away from events in singles, seeing how it falls, and then I'll read it in trade possibly. But it keeps not mattering, and I'd rather spend more money on indie books.
Right. No, I get you. But I will say that is a beautiful book for people our age. I know I'm a little older than you, but
yeah, Dark Crisis.
Yeah. Final Crisis.
Yeah, I never read it. But I'll grab the trade. They're just going into solicits now, the collected stuff and things. Yeah. So
I'll give you a small spoiler because I know you don't care about spoilers too much. A small one. It's not really even a spoiler.
It's stuff that I care about and this isn't one of those things.
One of the things that the book was really built for, it was to tell fans who are flipping out about some of the changes of Superboy and all them, and show you that the people who matter are Nightwing and Rob, all these characters that you grew up with. Those are the characters that are going to make the infants, and that's what we're trying to do. And kind of showing those are the characters that matter. We didn't forget about them. Those are the legacy characters. And I think it was trying to rebuild DC as a whole, going, man, we had tons of legacy characters. We need to stop with all these new ones and show that these old legacy matter. And that's why, in the end, the JLA isn't around anymore. The
Mhm.
JLA doesn't come down. I won't tell you what happens after, but
Sure.
JLA doesn't come back and a new team establishes, and it's a team that people our age really appreciate.
So do you mean just JL?
No, Justice League is gone.
But you said JLA, and that's where I didn't know if it was old.
Oh no, I wasn't being vague. No, I wasn't being like.
I was like, so what about JL then?
I
No,
always like.
because
I always liked that it was JLA. Going like, no, we only care about America.
yeah. It's like, yeah, Justice League of America. I read that in New 52. I got the Michigan cover.
That was so weird. Like Marvel put, when we talked about it when we talked about Greatest Day Punk, I had the Spider-Man one.
Yep.
It's so weird that when DC did it, they're just like, we're not going to put a lot of effort. They're just going to hold up the state flags.
We're just switching the flag. It's the same cover for everybody. It's just the flag. Because I got two versions of it. I got a USA one, and I had to go to Midtown Comics to get the Michigan one.
You couldn't even get it in your home state?
No, they didn't. They didn't grab it. They just grabbed A, and I was like, all right, whatever, man.
But what's so weird about it is us as fans. Like I did the same thing. I got the New Hampshire cover and I got the Florida cover because I live in Florida. I'm from New Hampshire. So I got three covers. Sure. Like it's such a random way to boost sales for no reason.
Yeah. 50 of them.
And God bless you, Midtown, for having. All right, guys, we're going to have to invest in at least 100 copies of every state. So that's fine.
I wonder if they went off of population density or like checked where they get the most orders from and then ordered according to that. Let's get someone from Midtown on. We can talk to him. So like that was 15 years ago.
I would love to have that conversation with Midtown. So how angry were you at DC and how did you resolve it?
Yeah, that's before my time. Oh, okay. Great. Well, good talking to you.
Oh, that's wild. But yeah, so do you think, because you've read Green Lantern, I quit at Morrison's run, and not because I don't like Morrison. Everyone likes Morrison. That's not a thing. It was a really good dropping point for me.
Sure.
It was a really good, like, I needed to cut back on my list. Wow, I didn't even realize he did 4 trades.
4 hardcover trades. Far Sector didn't get a hardcover trade. Fucking pisses me off. But they did give me 4 Morrisons. And they are great. And you can see it's because it's season 1 and 2. And I really like that they switched it up for that too. Except they really pissed me off. Because look at why? Why? I
hate that. I hate that they don't like look at the old stuff. That's the stuff that bugs the heck out of me.
Season 1 did great. Season 2, they're like, we should put Ultra War in there and throw off everything so that it looks weird next to each other.
Right.
And take the inker or another artist off. I don't know what Zermancio did, but either way, this Morrison run is incredible.
Right.
I want absolute Morrison GL. I'd buy that. I don't think many would though.
Well, yeah. I again, it was never a lack of love. I could definitely.
Yeah.
It was just more.
It's worth going back. It's timeless, so you'll be fine.
Well, and it felt to me like the last Green Lantern. I made a joke about it just a minute ago.
Yeah.
See, but here's what we're talking about. What are they making the movie about? Grant Morrison's Batman run. Well, Batman Inc., an ongoing title right now. So, you could not like it all you want. Clearly, it resonated.
It stuck through.
But yeah, so do you think they can fix Green Lantern, or do you think they're actively tanking to kind of coincide better with whatever they're doing for the TV show?
I don't think they meant to do it. I think I'm not a big shout out on who wrote this run. I think they probably put out a good premise, and DC bought into it, thought it would be a good transitional title for Morrison
Right.
from Morrison, but it ended up being just really generic, and it just it was it was just too much. It's like when Johns left GL.
Right.
That first issue afterwards was rough. I was just like, you got to put somebody on for 6 issues. No one's gonna like it, and then be ready for your next thing. Like you got to give people a little bit of breathing room because no one's gonna live up to it. And it was like when I read. I also went from Morrison's GL and I tried to read Spectre Inspector, another Morrison book, but like a YA boom title, and I was just like, it doesn't work. It hurt my viewing of it. So I don't think they intentionally tanked it. I think it's just how it worked out, and then they didn't do anything to right the ship.
Right. Well, and I would assume that if you look at a Morrison book, regardless of what it is, sales wise, it wasn't a tank, right? Like Morrison books are still
No.
going to outsell the other books just because of Morrison. There's people that will read Morrison because it's Morrison, period.
Yep. Oh yeah, so many more people read this than there are GL fans.
Yeah, absolutely. I but the goal for Morrison, and probably you probably couldn't tell Morrison this was, the goal should be you bringing new fans in, and we keep them.
Yes, which was their shot. They could have got there. People gave that GL run a while before I started seeing a lot of like, I got to be done. I almost dropped it. I was almost just, I never would, but I almost stopped reading it,
Right.
which is as bad as it gets for me. And then they stopped, and I was like, yeah, that checks out. But no, I think I would love for GL to live in that space, the non-continuity, keep it weird space cop stuff, and just like, I don't, unless you're gonna bring John, have somebody with an overarching like idea for like the whole universe that is GL. I think you should just be okay with it being like procedurals and telling 6-issue stories at a time, and just look at it like that. It doesn't need to be this big space opera every time you read it.
I have always felt that the DC, what is it called, Cosmic Universe, it's either Green Lantern, clicks to Legion, or New Gods. Like it's always.
It's like they have like a flow chart. Is Darkseid involved? No. Okay. go here.
Because I think one of Bendis's intentions, and as we know, Bendis didn't work out either. But I think Bendis' intention was to spearhead the cosmic universe. I think that was one of his things. His Superman was super cosmic. I think he was like, let's get Superman to be cosmic, which I don't think is a bad idea. If you could get Superman to be cosmic for a little bit, I think could come up with some really cool stories. Because you've told a lot of Earth Superman stories. You could keep him cosmic. I just think the fans were like, but what about John? What about Lois? What about his pal Jimmy Olsen? He wouldn't go up in space with his pal Jimmy Olsen.
Come on. Yeah. That's why I liked Imperious Lex, the Russell Lex book, but it had like Earth was still involved in it, but he was hopping around and dealing with like Lex on a different planet, but then like would go back, and I really enjoy. That's probably my favorite Superman outside of like, I really liked Red and Blue. I actually have, it's hilarious because I was going to point out I didn't just buy it for Douek. I really liked Batman Red and Blue.
See, I made it very clear when I backed Superman that I would never support Superman and only backed it because of Douek. Probably wasn't good at his social media. It's probably why I didn't really retweet it.
John becoming Cosmic Superman is a cool idea.
I dig
that. That'd be fun.
He's already in Legion. I mean, he's already on that train.
Yeah. He's got that ring. Let's go.
I'm actually thinking about, like, I have no love for Superman, whatever, but that Superman cover with all the Superman characters on it, it's a Batman book.
Right.
I'm like, there's something about everyone wearing the same emblem that makes me want to buy this book. I literally care about Connor Kent. That's the only one I care about. Superboy clone, because he was on, Young Justice, because he was on Titans.
Young Justice. So good.
Like that's my dude. Like I'm okay. Beyond that, like I don't care. But I may
You
buy
don't
that.
care about Jimmy Olsen?
Don't care about it.
Did you read his comic book?
I heard it was really good, but I did
It's
not.
so good. It's so much better than it should ever be, and it was amazing.
I actually could make a solid argument. Someone was talking to me about like they were upset about
David
Superboy
freaking
being
Hazan. What's up, David?
David. We were again for those just jumping in. We were supposed to talk to Rich Douek. I probably didn't send out the invite in time. He did not show up probably because of a lack of communication. We normally communicate, but I was doing signings. I haven't felt good. I got my COVID. Actually, you got your COVID shot. Were really sick. I also got mine. I was really sick. This last booster like really messed me up.
Yeah,
and
it
then
got me good.
I have a stomach thing going on, so I was in bed all day yesterday. So it's crazy. Oh, David, you're going to be on this show very, very soon. In fact,
we got to get you on because Tales is out right now, which I have. I missed. I wasn't at the comic shop last week because I wasn't feeling well, and so I missed Tales from Nottingham #1. It's sitting in my pull box.
I have it, but I have not read it. Travis and I had a light Superman. Yeah, I hate Superman, and Daniel was very upset about this. It really messed up his world when he found out that I hate Superman. But here's I have read enough Superman to be able to have great arguments about Superman. Like I'm not. If a good writer goes on Superman, a good writer's a good writer. Like
yeah, 100%.
It is what it is. Well, good on y'all because we're sold out again, selling out.
Well, what classic Nottingham?
Classic Nottingham.
Yeah, it really because I'm not a very big Superman fan either. You can go back in the Burrito books. I've been a staunch anti-Superman person, mostly because it's not interesting very often. People will write him very similarly all of the time, but when you get somebody who's willing, when they get somebody who has a good story and they're willing to let Superman break from the norm, because I don't blame the writers all the time. I think DC has a skeleton that they have for Superman, and it's like, this is the formula. If you're not bringing that formula, we're not as interested. But every time they break the formula, it's usually really good. Like New 52 Action Comics, he couldn't fly.
Right.
That was interesting.
And wore jeans.
Yes, and wore jeans. Yes. And I liked that Superman. It was interesting. It was like, and it also brought back that sense of like he can leap buildings in a single bound. Like it mattered. Because when you can fly, that line is really stupid. Because he can also leap Mount Everest in a single bound because he can freaking fly.
And I gotta give, even though I wasn't a fan of that run, I do have to give DC tons of credit for writing their way out of that storyline.
Yeah, they did.
Without going crazy, like without going like we messed up. Like writing the way they wrote
out of it.
It was good.
Yeah.
Kudos to see.
And then there's stuff like Earth 1 Superman that I enjoyed. All Stars okay. I get All Stars so good.
My favorite Superman one is the one where he dies, but the second one
it's a good one.
The second one is JMS. JMS Trinity did a run for like 12 issues, and it was Superman goes, you know what? I'm always flying over things. I never walk. I need to walk and hear what I hear and see what the people are like. And he's dealing with like kids' domestic violence things with his parents and like just random. It's so good.
Great.
Yeah, it was so good. Just down to the earth Superman stuff and Superman
coming level Superman.
Right. It was so good.
It's Daredevil Superman. Let's go.
It's so good. I thought it was a really good run. I get why Superman fans probably didn't like it, but I loved it.
Yeah. That's usually how it goes, is like when you hear like the diehard Superman fans are like, I'm not a huge fan. I'm like, maybe I should check that out. Because I don't hate the character. I think it could be really interesting. It's been interesting. It's been really good multiple times.
I mean, it's just right now, two of the best writers of DC, Philip Kennedy Johnson and Josh Williams, are writing Superman. Like I
grabbed 1050 and 1051, and I really liked it. It was really good.
Brian's pointing out. Yeah, that was basically what that JMS route was about. He basically acknowledged that he can do that. So what if he was on the ground and could only deal with what's right in front of him?
That's nice. Probably would help.
Right.
He should wear noise canceling headphones.
Right. He should. He should.
My favorite is when he can hear through space. That's my favorite version of Superman. He can
My
hear
favorite is in the movies
vacuum.
when he just was like, this ending is not to my liking, so I'm going to go around the world a couple times for one time.
So good. I like back in the day when he could just choose what powers he needed.
Right.
And then would just get them.
I like that he randomly became two Superman, both red and blue lightning for no particular reason.
Yeah, why not? Yes, and that's, am I being entertained? Yes or no? And I don't get entertained with repetition, and that's where I have a hard time with a lot of long-running books when they don't change stuff up. But I am too. I have a low bar for being entertained. You can look back on what I like versus what a lot of people I like. I always have very low expectations, but it also helps to know what you like. Like when you know what you like, you can usually find there's a bajillion comics to choose from. If you're reading something you don't like, you're doing it wrong because there's a taste for everybody.
And I think, as someone who's read comics for years, one of the things that comic fans don't understand, sometimes they're breaking a character on purpose.
Yes.
To bring him back to the original form that you liked. They have listened to you.
Yeah.
You're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Because they only get one issue a month, guys. Like give them a minute.
We're correcting. It's steering the ship. It doesn't turn on a dime. Yeah.
Right. Like Mark Waid's Daredevil run. They went so dark with Daredevil. They're just like, all right, so can we go darker? Like, I'm not sure if we're ready for that. And Mark Waid's like, why don't we not?
Yeah. Why don't we let's have a breather.
Right. And Mark Waid came and fixed him and that got him happy and got things good again. So we can kill everything and get him dark again.
Ooh, that's interesting. Is it because it makes you want to write something better?
I have a similar thing. As growing up, when people used to ask me, who would you want to work for, Marvel or DC? I was like, I want to work for Marvel, but I bet you getting me on DC is going to be better because I'll be more excited because I don't love those characters much.
That's interesting. I like it. So you don't use the gloves. You take off the training mitts,
right?
And you can just go at it with DC because it's not like you're not holding on to something dear.
Right, and I'd want to create more, right? All right, I don't particularly like I actually had a DC idea today. I'll share it, DC. So if you want to hire me, let me know. I think a run of Batman of 6 issues to 12 issues of the Rogues attacking Gotham would be the best ever.
Yeah.
Like you take Batman through the ringer for 6 issues, get him really weak and get him things up, and then the Rogues are just like, this is our time for the biggest heist to hit Gotham Bank. It has way more money than Central.
That's Nightfall. That's
Nightfall?
how Bane. That's how Bane.
Yeah, the Bane, right? Yeah, that same concept.
That's how Bane broke Batman's back by having all the Joker and Two-Face just keep running him every night and not letting him rest, and then he was like, suck it, blah. Spoiler alert for Nightfall. All right. Well, so we don't have a ton of time, but we can do a little teaser for hopefully another episode we'll be doing. We'll show. We threw this at the beginning. Let's throw this intro out again.
Hey!
I'm really, really sorry, guys. I thought I set a reminder on my phone, but either I messed it up or something. It didn't go off, and I do not have a great excuse.
No, you're fine. It's fine. We've just been talking comics because weirdly enough, it's not hard for Travis and I to riff and just talk comics for a long time. I
Yeah,
looked
it's
up and I'm
weird.
like, oh, it's almost an hour. We were like, we'll
Yeah,
go on for 20 minutes and bow out, and it's like we're hitting an hour.
It's
yeah.
been
I'm really sorry about that.
You're fine.
Um,
There's very low stakes here, but we will have to ask for that appearance feedback.
So what do you want to do? Todd, do you have to go?
I have to pee because we're
I
hitting
also
that
have
time.
right.
So how about you go now?
Okay.
I think you're
Okay.
closer to yours than me.
Okay.
You go pee. I'll talk with Rich about.
Well, does Rich have time too? Rich, you have time to
yeah,
an
yeah,
hour and
no,
hang out with us?
yeah.
All
I have
right.
time. Yeah,
Well, we can just
I
we'll
got.
do a little condensed. We'll talk about books a little bit, and then we'll do another one soon where we actually talk about the leveling up and things because we're already late,
Yeah,
and I
no,
have some to do.
whatever works for you guys. I'm around. So
All right. Well, yeah. Let's hang out for a minute, and
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. All right. All right.
How's it going?
it's going good. It's going good.
It's been a minute.
Been pretty busy lately, but all good things. So
Is it busy with Breath of Shadows?
yeah, Breath of Shadows and other stuff. I actually just finished the final script for issue 5
Nice.
last week. So that's Alex is working on it, and everything is going really, really well.
Amazing. Cool.
We got
Yeah.
almost the whole thing now, and it's turning out, I think, to be one of the best things I've ever written. Just like that's how I feel. So yeah.
It had a really familiar team on it when I saw it on the shelf. I was just like, "Oh, that's interesting. I feel like I've seen those 3 on something before."
Yeah. We kind of we kind of conceived it as like almost like a trilogy, like between Road of Bones and Sea of Sorrows and Breath of Shadows. Like they're all. It's not like a trilogy like Star Wars, Empire,
Sea of Sorrows,
Return of the Jedi. It's more like they're just like themes, related. Oh, got a fan in you, man. Thank you. There's so many books.
I mean,
yeah,
so many books. Because I first talked to you on Comic Burrito about Sea of Sorrows. That's when I first learned the Rich Douek name. Because we read this review copy of this IDW book, which I don't pull much from IDW, and I was like, this is not IDW. This isn't Sonic or some licensed thing. I don't know what's happening, but I love it because that's my whole aesthetic. Is like it was perfect, and then I went down a rabbit hole, and now there's Road of Bones and Breath of Shadows is great. I'm so excited. It's the first time I'm on at number 1 off the bat.
Oh, nice.
This is your first number 1?
Sure, yeah. I mean, besides, technically Star-Lord Wasteland is
What about Happy Hill?
Nope,
I
was on number 1.
Really?
Okay. It's all right. We don't mind.
I came in late, but I spend the money. I bring
Doesn't
them home.
doesn't matter when you buy it. It's all good.
I make it happen. But yeah, this is the first time where I was like, hey, I'm going to get it because I see it.
Yeah, like it's funny because like around the time like when we were doing Road of Bones, especially, and then Sea of Sorrows, IDW is like really heavily into like licensed stuff. Like they had like G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony, TMNT, and they still have some of that stuff, but it was really like but there was always this kind of like little trickle of create our own books, and Road of Bones just happened to be one of them. But now that G.I. Joe and Transformers have gone elsewhere, they've brought in like the originals line. It's a lot more like they're doing a lot more original series and create our own stuff, like kind of Scott Snyder's like the big name there, kind of like
the Wildfires.
Yeah, he's doing more books, and there's a lot of great IDW books coming out now.
Yeah, it's totally different. I'm getting more than I ever had before. Licensed stuff never appealed to me, but like
Mhm.
just in the last like 6 months or so, you could tell like the shift is like is hitting, and you're just like, oh, that sounds really cool. And it's like, who's that from? It's like IDW. I'm like, that is not what I expected from what you just described to me, but like,
Right.
I'll grab it. And it's neat.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan. I didn't realize, when we do these shows, and you can go to the bathroom, Todd, if you want.
Yeah, I'll do that. I definitely was going to
There you
forget to do that. I'll go.
um, when we do these shows, one of the things that we were doing, we're talking about people leveling up, and you've been leveling up the last couple of years. But one of the things we like to show your career as you've gone there, and I didn't realize till I went through your career that I've read every one of your books except for Gutter Magic, and I've even read some of Gutter Magic. I've got a couple of stray issues that I found in a dollar bin, and I was like, "Oh, let's grab that. Let's grab those. Oh, this is 2 and 4. Cool. I'll throw those aside and get that later." Um, and even Gutter Magic, I've always heard about your story as an indie creator. That's a story that kind of goes around if you pay attention to indie creators. How you didn't have enough money to put together a book per se. I mean, that's a story, and you
Yeah.
found artists to do little pieces of it so you could make one story and be able to afford it.
Yeah. I mean, when I started, like, it, money was kind of tight. Like,
Sure.
my wife and I had just had our first kid, so it was all like, um, you know, stretched a little thin, but like I did have enough where I could like save up here and there. So do like 5 pages, so did a 5 page story, then another 5 page story, then another 5 page story. But like I kind of, I wanted them to kind of all go together. So I wound up setting them in the same like setting. And, I knew the main characters that I wanted for like the longer series if and when I was ever able to do it. But I didn't, what I tried to do is like maybe pad out the world a little bit by like focusing some of them on some of the side characters. So a lot of the early stuff was just sort of like playing around in the world, stuff that doesn't necessarily have to do with like the main story, just like things that would kind of like broaden it. Um and then eventually, I got to a place where I could invest like a little bit more in it. So that's when I started doing like the longer stories. I did one issue, and then I just had like that issue one for like maybe like 2 or 3 years, where
Wow.
like that was like the only thing. But I did like a small print run of it, self-published it, and I'd sell it at cons, hand it out at cons to people. And then the IDW deal happened through Comic Experience, and then that was like when we had that inked, it was like, okay, now I can do issues 2, 3, and 4, because I know, like, spaced it out enough so that it wasn't
Right.
like killing me, but it was like knowing that they were going to come out and it was going to through a publisher and be getting at least some money back.
Right.
Um, that was like, okay, we can do this.
And you said IDW, but that was Source Point, wasn't it?
Well, it's funny because it was originally out with IDW, and that was in 2016,
Okay.
and they did 4 issues and a trade paperback. Uh, but at the time, IDW had they had an imprint with Comics Experience, which is
Yeah.
like the online,
Yeah. I
online portion.
remember.
Um, Shortly after that, IDW decided to move away from imprints. So, because at the time they had a lot, they had like, oh god, well they had bought Top Shelf, but then they also had Darby Pop and a couple of other ones that were like just these sort of like mini imprints under the IDW brand, but they decided to pull back on that. So basically, it was like they just weren't going to be doing more Gutter Magic. So Comics Experience wanted to continue publishing books, so they did a partnership with Source Point Press, and I was
Right.
able to negotiate it where we moved it over to Source Point Press, and they put out like a new edition of the trade
Oh,
and
okay.
some new issues and stuff like that. So so yeah, it's kind of had Gutter Magic has been around long enough that it's had like kind of ups and downs and like like a
Wow.
long storied history.
But was Gutter Magic your first? Was that your first work, or was it some of the Comics Tribe like anthologies?
Yeah, well, Gutter Magic was my first work. Like the short stories were like the first ones I ever wrote, and I think I put out three of them in like kind of just like a 16-page, really short book that I printed out a bunch for New York Comic Con one year, um, and actually handed those to Tyler at Comics Tribe and Joe and a couple of other people, and that's how I got the Comics Tribe anthology work. And so the Comic Tribe stuff was like really like early in my career, but Gutter Magic was technically first.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then but was Wailing Blades been worked on during that time, or did you did the Turtles in between, right?
Yeah, I did one issue of Turtles Universe that came about because um, like for Gutter Magic, we had an editor at IDW, this guy Bobby Curnow, really great guy.
Right.
He's not there anymore, but Bobby was the editor on Gutter Magic, and even though uh, he wasn't like too in depth, like we did kind of get to talking and got friendly, and then when they launched TMNT, he was like the editor of the whole line. So I was gently bugging him for a while to
Right.
if he had anything, and then finally he did have an opening in Universe. The great thing about Universe is that it was like just sort of like open for like a lot of you know newer stories and like new creators, like where they could maybe like slide people in. You didn't necessarily have to be like you know like it wasn't as hard as like getting an issue of the main book, let's say, because the
Right.
main book was like sewed up. Um, so yeah, so we did the issue Universe. That was a lot of fun. Um, got to do a couple of like shorts and a couple of later issues of Universe where they're like just sort of like 4 or 5 page backups. And then, but while that was going on, I was working on Wailing Blade
Okay.
uh, with Joe, and we actually had a couple of false starts where like I was definitely going to do it with Comics Tribe, but we went through a couple of artists that didn't work out, um, and then I was out for beers with Joe one time because we both live in New York, like the New York area. So we met up, and he was like, what are you working on?" And I was like, "Well, Wailing Blade. I really want to do it." And like I had worked, known him from Scam and stuff, and I was just like, I know science fiction is not really your thing, but I think you could do like an amazing job, and I'm dying to work with you on something. So, and he felt the same. So he was like, "All right." He's like, "I'm not really a sci-fi guy, but I'll give it a shot." And then it's like the just once he started designing and stuff, like it just really took off, and he did an amazing job, I think.
Yeah, I've read a lot of Mulvey's stuff, for art, and Wailing Blade is my favorite, hands down.
Oh,
The character
thanks.
designs, the big swords, big weapons. I love that. I'm a big Highlander fan, so like you got me on cool weapons all day, every day.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, it's definitely like I loved it too. I loved working on it. I loved like kind of just the way Joe built the world. I'd love to get back to it someday. So, we'll see. Maybe after Happy Hill is all done, or maybe down the road, like if we're both free again, we might like bring it back to like maybe a volume two or something like that. Just because I had so much fun like making it, and also built out like a lot of stuff that we didn't get to touch on in the series. Like so.
yeah, and
Plus,
didn't
it has a cliffhanger ending. So.
I think I talked to Tyler once. Tyler and I are friends, and I think he tells him like Whaley Blade was like you making him do you a favor. The Happy Hill was kind of more his, you doing him a favor, right? Type of thing.
As far as Mulvey goes,
Yeah,
yeah, kind of. I mean, not like a favor, but it was just sort of like, you know,
I'm really into this. You're really into this.
yeah,
Do one
exactly.
for me, I'll
Like
do
Joe,
one for you.
like Joe had Happy Hill in his head for like, I think like maybe 2 3 years before we did the first issue, and like, you know, he just had like the woodsman sketch, and he just had this kind of like notepad full of like, you know, sketches and ideas and stuff like that. And when he was when he started doing it, he was like, you know, like, I really like it, but it's like there's like some stuff that like I'm not like getting across like what I want to get across, like, and you know, he would send me scripts, he would send me pages just for like my opinion, like as a friend, you know what I mean? And so I'd be like, oh, you know, like, what if you try this, or what if you try that? And at a certain point, he was like, you know, like everything you suggest, I'm really liking. So would you be interested in coming on as like a co-writer? And I was like, sure, you know, like I was like, you know, I just want to make it clear, like it's still your story. Like I don't want you to like feel like I was like, I just want to help you tell the story you want to tell. Like, you know, I don't want to like kind of take over and bring like, you know, like make it my own or anything like that. So that was kind of the understanding we had. And yeah, it worked out really well. I love the way Happy Hill turned out. And that's another one where uh issue number 5 is like well underway, and should be coming back to Kickstarter soon. So
Nice. Yeah, I was actually shocked about that. I thought about it the other day. When right before this, I was like, "Wait, that story didn't end."
yeah, yeah, we got one more, but you know, it's like life happens. You know,
Yeah.
like we there are a couple of production delays and stuff like that, but we just rather than kind of like rush it through, you know, we wanted to like, you know, give it the time and do it right.
You're right.
Yeah, you know, make sure like, so just like as everyone's kind of schedule like lined up like down the line, like, you know, we're getting it done.
Right.
So
There's nothing like eagerly awaiting a comic and then wishing they would have taken 6 more months on it. It's like I could have waited.
yeah,
I'd rather it be right than be out.
yeah. Well, it's like, you know, like in like 10 years or 5 years or something, if you're like looking through your long box or something, you're not going to remember that it was late. You're going to remember like, you know, that you liked it or not. So
Yeah. Are you going to reread it or be like, ugh?
yeah. Yeah, and I find like, you know, I mean, like delays happen and stuff, like you know, I think just as long as you're kind of like straight with your audience as to like what's going on, like it's, you know, I find people are generally understanding, you know. It's not
Yeah.
like yeah.
It's not like you did a Kickstarter and said it was coming, like, and then it's a late Kickstarter.
Right.
It's
I
never
mean, you know,
it's never been promised. So like you're good.
Yep.
no, but I mean, like if it gets to be like years or something, or
Oh,
or,
yeah.
or like if you did the Kickstarter and you haven't fulfilled it, I think that's different than like holding
Oh,
off on launching the next
But
Kickstarter.
that never happens.
That never happens.
Yeah, but
No.
even if there's like a delay in fulfillment, because that happened to a lot of people with like, you know, the supply chain stuff with COVID
Oh, yeah.
and like all that stuff. It's like, you know, if you're, the good thing about Kickstarter is you can communicate with everybody that bought the book, and if you're just like kind of like straight with them, it's like, you know, obviously it's there's always going to be a few people that's not enough for, and they're going to be pissed off. But I think most people kind of understand that if you're like, hey, look, this is going on, just bear with me, and I'll get it, and you keep them informed. It's, you know, it's not the end of the world if you know you have to wait like a couple of months or something.
Yeah, anytime that I back something, I just want it to eventually show up. And as long as they're like, we're still working on it, I'm like, all right, cool. I have no reason not to trust you. And you already have my money, so I might as well just go along for this ride.
Yeah.
it builds good content according to the internet, anyways. If someone does it for Phil, like, and people love that. Apparently, it does really well on YouTube. Not our shows, but other shows.
Oh
So
man,
the
people.
biggest question that Todd and I had that I think we need to answer tonight. Todd doesn't even know the question. Is do you think Alex likes you more or John Lee's? Because we had John Lee's on, and John Lee said it was him. I'd love to hear your opinion.
I don't know. Well, it's like me, Alex, Joe, and Joe Mulvey and John were kind of like the fearsome foursome. It's like
Right.
we're like, because John and Joe are working on Last Ride of Pillar and Pride. That's another book that's unfortunately seen some delays because there's some things Aftershocks going on with. But like we're all really good friends. But at the end of the day, probably like Sync I think came before Road of Bones, so it's probably like that first love thing. But
Sure.
But Alex and I, we definitely like get along well and love working together. So I think we're going to be working together for quite a while.
I mean,
we already have like
I
stuff
like
planned.
I like my wife more than my first girlfriend. I'm just saying.
I don't know. Well,
First love only goes so far.
yeah, and maybe it's like 2023 polyamory is like a lot more
Oh, that's true. You guys share
common
Cormac.
stuff. But
It's not
yeah,
a triangle
I
because
don't
it's
know. I
just
mean, like,
Cormac in the middle.
that's a question for. I mean, I know if John and I had to fight over it, I'd probably win because I'm a lot bigger than him. But
Right.
hopefully it will never come to that.
But
I
he's
feel
got
you took shots with doing a swimming
far
story.
away.
On John. But yeah, I heard when I walked away, Todd talking about the IDW trilogy. Apparently, it's what it's called. But I love all of them.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah,
So good, so good.
I can't wait to love this one as much as the other ones.
yeah. No, this one's pretty crazy, and it's different, than they're all kind of like different in their own way, like as far as like whether sometimes the supernatural thing is a lot more overt, sometimes it's a little more subtle, but like I'm really happy with how Breath of Shadows turned out, so I'm excited for people to read the rest of it.
Yeah, before you got here, Todd and I were talking, like, based on your covers, we had no idea what that book was like. Apparently, neither one of us read the solicits.
Nope.
Because
I saw the creative team. I saw the creative team and went, whoop.
Yeah.
Like, this is about a band? What are you talking about? Like, it's clearly some sort of neo-Nazi, like, Mayan cult, which kind of is, but not yet.
Yeah, no, but it was kind of inspired. It was inspired by a couple of things. Like, I knew we wanted to like do a jungle story, and we knew we wanted to do something in like I think like the 1960s era, and like I like a lot of music from that time, so that was just kind of the inspiration, and like I was just thinking of like what was going on in the 1960s. Besides obviously like there was the civil rights movement, there was the Vietnam War, like a lot of like turmoil, and just for some reason I was thinking about the Beatles kind of going to India to like study with the Maharishi, and that's kind of I feel where like a lot of the whole like all you need is love and peace and love, and like
And drugs.
and all that stuff
Lots of
kind
drugs.
of came from. And then it's like I just the more I was thinking about it, it's like, oh yeah, like peace and love, but we still got to sell records and stuff like that, and just thinking more about like just the weirdness of like the hippie movement and the whole how all of that kind of like the same people that were preaching world peace and free love and stuff, and that were like 20 years later, like corporate raiding and, like
Yup.
overseeing some of the worst wars, like, in history. That was just kind of really interesting for me as like kind of a starting point to explore like telling this story. And that's why it was a rock and roll story, And then the other thing that kind of inspired me was there was this book by William S. Burroughs called The Yage Letters. William S. Burroughs, for anyone who doesn't know, was a poet and an author. He's one of the Beats that and kind of had their heyday in the 1950s. He wrote a book called Naked Lunch. That's probably his most famous thing. But also in real life, lifelong heroin addict, and trying to kick it in many different ways. And one of the ways was searching for this drug in Mexico called Yage, which we know nowadays as ayahuasca and is a lot more, kind of common. But he kind of wrote this journal of his, adventures south of the border. Searching for this drug, and I just thought that was like really interesting and a good way to get the story into a jungle, because Alex really wanted to draw like a jungle story, and I didn't want to do a Vietnam story because I feel like there are so many great Vietnam stories that like I almost like don't even know like what I could possibly add to the whole there's just so many good ones out there that I just felt like I wanted this story to like stand out a little bit by being somewhere else.
Yeah, that's cool. I think Apache Delivery Service did the last unknown Vietnam story. That's possible. I think it's done now. I think it's closed the chapter. Everything else is derivative.
Yeah.
But no, I really dig it, and yeah, I wasn't ready for it at all. I didn't know. I wasn't ready for like a music thing to be involved. Like I don't know what I expected, to be perfectly honest. I think I just expected like Rotobones 2, but it was like a different name kind of thing. And it was really, I was pleasantly surprised, and it was a good time. I'm glad I didn't read about what it was. It was fun going in blind.
I'll just
Yeah,
say
have you
I
ever
hope.
thought about with the IDW stuff? Have they ever said, "Hey, let's do a sequel," and you've gone, "I want to do new things," or how's that
Yeah.
go?
Well, basically, Rotobones outperformed their expectations. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Not that they were never not behind it, not that they were never, supportive of it. It's just they thought it was going to do like a certain amount of sales. It wound up selling out. The first issue went to 3 printings. Every issue except for number 4 went to 2 printings. So it kind of, was like a pleasant surprise for them. So they were very, very much willing to hear pitches for a follow up. But so that's how we pitched Sea of Sorrows. And when we went back to them, we were like, we don't want to do Rotobones 2 because we kind of feel like we really like how it ended. Number 1, number 2, like there's this kind of like, I feel like horror sequels, you just sort of get like diminishing returns. It's like 2, like number 2 is never as good as number 1, and then number 3 is never as good as number 2, and then by the time you're at number 4, it's like you're in like parody land or something. With exceptions, but like we just kind of felt like there wasn't much more we wanted to say with I guess the character, the one character that survived the story. So we were like, but we were exploring a lot of interesting themes with Rotobones, and it had this kind of, it was like this kind of like intersection of like psychological horror and history, like real world history and supernatural horror. So we were like, we want to do another story like that, but just in like a different time with different characters. And that's how he pitched them Sea of Sorrows. and they loved it. And then that book also did very well for them. They were a little bit more prepared, like, they upped the print run, so we didn't wind up selling out, but that's not a big deal because Sea of Sorrows sold, like, I think over twice as much as Road of Bones did. So
Nice.
again, they were just like kind of very receptive, like that's like the long and the short of it is, it's like, if your books do well with the publisher, it's like they're always ready to, talk about another one.
Right.
So weird.
Yeah. So it took us a little while, but we, did pitch them Breath of Shadows, and they really dug it. And yeah, now, I don't know the exact numbers on Breath of Shadows. I haven't like seen the like my like statement yet or anything, but I've checked in with IDW. They're all very happy, and they love working with us because our books do well for them. We like working with them a lot because they're all like really good people and very, supportive and really get behind the books. So yeah, we're definitely going to be like working with them in the future. It's just a matter of kind of finding the right project, like what we want to do. Like I think we might, do some different things rather than like just another like history horror story. Like, we'll try to kind of branch out a little bit, do something a little different, and then maybe
cyberpunk romance.
Yeah, you never know. We're kicking a lot of ideas back and forth, so it's we'll eventually settle on one.
You shouldn't hold out for Roads of Bone.
No Roads of Bone.
All right.
No Road of Bone.
I think Boney Roads is already done, but it's a different type of book.
Too fast, two bones. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Two Road, Two Bones.
Two Road, Two Bones. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm into it. That's a one shot. That's just a fun one shot where you see the aftermath and be like, "Oh, we didn't need to come back here."
Well, and then last year the year before, you started dipping your toes into Marvel and DC.
Yeah,
I love the Star-Lord. Tying into that Kitty Pryde was fantastic.
Thank you.
I don't think I think a lot of people just moved on from it, and it was really good to see someone come back to it and go, no, that relationship matters too, which is great because I think because of the movies, everyone goes to Gamora, but Star-Lord's had tons of relationships that's gone.
Yeah, and then there's
you can talk about you can talk about that, Todd, because I remember tagging Rich and said, hey, look, I bought a Superman book, and I'm mad about it.
I was super stoked because I bought this. Because I checked it out and I was like, that's kind of cool. I don't like Superman. We had a 20-minute conversation.
Yeah, we were talking about it before.
About how we didn't care for Superman. But I was just like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. It's anthology style Superman, so they can get weird with it. And it's not going to be just like classic formula. And then all along comes issue 4, and I'm grabbing along the way. I'm like, what the fuck? Rich Douek's in this. Holy shit.
Yeah.
When you were on Burrito, you talked about how Superman is the book from the big two you'd want to write and how you had an idea for it and all this stuff. And it was just super cool to see like a little part of that getting sprinkled into DC. And I was like, that's super cool. And it was really good. Like,
thank
you. Whole series was good, but yours was definitely my favorite in that. It was.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Great. I mean, yeah, that was funny. It was like, I did have an idea for a Superman story, and I had been talking to Jamie Rich, who was the editor of the whole line at the time, and he's like, "What's your story?" And I was like, I laid out basically what it was, and he's like, "If you can tell the whole thing in 8 pages, I have a slot for it."
Amazing.
Because like in my head, it's like it was like something that could be like an issue or like an arc or something. Like it could have like kind of stretched it out, made it a little more complicated, a few more twists and turns and things. But I really sat down with the idea and was just thinking about like, okay, can I do this in 8 pages? And I was like, yeah, I think I can. I was going to say yes, whether I was confident about it or
Right.
not. But, but I really did, I really did like, I was like, okay, I could do this, and it worked out really well. And I was just shocked with that story, how well it came out, because I never in a million years would have thought that um, I could have gotten to work with Joe Quinones on it, because
Right.
he's an amazing artist and like someone who like I still would say is like, out of my league kind of, you know what I mean? Um, so when Jamie had kind of asked me like, "Oh, hey, do you have any ideas for artists you'd like to work with?" And I was like in the middle of like putting a list together of, just names, and and then when I had sent him an email about something completely like something, I think it might have been like an outline or a script update or something like that. Just, not about artists or anything. And he was like, "Oh, this is great. I'm going to send it over to Joe Quinones because he said he wanted to do it." So I was like, "What?" So it was a real shock, but amazing. And he's like so nice to work with. Just like a really nice guy, great collaborator. Like he's like, I remember when we started working and he was like showing me the layouts and he was like, "Yeah, if you have anything you want to change or anything." And I'm just like, no, no, this is all pretty, this is all pretty much perfect. And I wouldn't presume to, second guess your choices and stuff. So it was a great experience.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, the next book we're going to talk about is the Magic Book, which I know a lot about Jed MacKay because I read all of his Marvel stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know anything about Magic, so you co-write this with him, which is you're
Yeah.
co-writing with the big boy right now. I mean,
Yeah.
Avengers.
Yep. There it
I've been
is.
reading this since number 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got on first day.
Awesome. So I kind of hope you like where we're going with it,
Mhm.
because Jed
It's
had
not where
this.
it began, but I dig it.
Yeah, no. I mean, Jed had this great story that he told over like 20 issues and stuff,
Mhm.
and that kind of culminated. But it was time to start
Yep.
a new arc, and like you said, Jed is blowing up right now. He's
Yeah.
like taking on Avengers. He's still writing Moon Knight, still writing. He's going to be launching Doctor Strange. Um, and he's a great writer. Another like really super nice guy. We kind of got to know each other over the past couple of years. And he liked Gutter Magic a lot, so I think that might have been what made him think of me for this. Because basically, like when he was just like, "I've got a lot more Marvel stuff on my plate, so I don't have as much time to devote to Magic the Gathering." And he's like, you know, um, he not to speak for him, but I think he probably would have been willing to just sort of like move off of it. But I think the guys at Boom just wanted to felt like they wanted to keep working with him and stuff, and rather than just like bringing on a new writer out of the blue, like they kind of really feel like it's like his book, and so they wanted to continue with him, but were very happy and very welcoming to like kind of bring me on board and let me contribute some ideas. So um, it's been a lot of fun. Like working with Jed's been great, and the whole team over there. We kind of bounce the story back and forth together. I do most of the scripting, but Jed kind of like is there, kind of like to take a read of everything, and like give his input and stuff like that. But it's been a great experience. I mean, like Magic, like that's something like I remember like I used to play it like all the time. Like in college, I had like boxes and boxes of cards, and then and then I just kind of didn't touch it for a while. But I would always, I mean, like just like even if you don't play the game, like the artwork for the cards is like so amazing that it's like
so pretty.
like it's something I always like would kind of like be like looking at, like something like would pop up in my like social media and stuff. So I was always kind of like, just tangentially kind of like keeping up with like the world of Magic. So it was just great to be able to get the opportunity to write, like in that universe. And also like, for I know Wizards has been Wizards of the Coast has been taking a lot of flack lately in the RPG world.
Open license,
yeah, the whole open license thing. But as far as like okaying the scripts and stuff like that, they've actually been really good. So
that's good.
I can't complain about them.
I mean, their creative side has never had issues. Like material they put out is always really solid. Like I've never heard anyone be like, Curse of Strahd is really derivative of blah, 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 blah. Like, they do great work. And I've been saying for 23 issues that as soon as this book sucks, I'm done because I bought it because I like Magic the Gathering. And then I fucking got hooked on #1. And I'm like, shit, I meant to just buy one.
Right.
And now I'm 23 in, and it's great. So whatever you're doing, whatever the process you're doing, it's paying off because I didn't notice, like I didn't realize you hopped on, which is like, not to say like your fingerprints aren't on it. It's just you guys did such a good job of like not making it feel like the rug's pulled out and it's like, here's something completely different. It's definitely different, but it wasn't like so out of left field. It still feels like it's just moving along, which is really cool. I dig it a lot.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad.
So, I'm a big fan.
Earlier, the only reason why you bought Magic the Gathering comics in the past was because it came with a card.
Yeah.
So now you have to read it for the actual writing, and that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, totally different. I've read some of those past ones from those cards. They were not as good. There's a lot of lore in them. Not as entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, one nice thing about it is that we're kind of able to do our own thing. We're not super beholden to, like the,
canon,
the canon like storyline
and
cards.
I was gonna ask how much they care about that because some of it falls in line with what you expect from
some
them.
of it does. Like I think they're like. They care more about some parts than others. Like the Phyrexia set that's like coming out now. It's like a big deal to them. So they were just kind of like, we don't want to confuse people. So no Phyrexian stuff. Cause I think they didn't want to have them kind of like running at the same time and being different from each other.
Yeah. A different vibe on either side. And
exactly.
That makes sense.
But like, for stuff like like War of the Spark, we kind of like touched on in the latest issue, and it just it did play out a little bit different in the comics continuity than it did in the cards and the novels, just because it's such a big story that it could almost be its own its own series, and we didn't really. So we just kind of had to do like the Cliff Notes version of it, and not everything is going to like line up.
Yeah.
So
if you've already read it once, you don't need to read it again. Read it
right
a different way.
but that's it's in there for like people who are not very familiar with the kind of lore of Magic, to kind of give them a little taste of it and stuff. And we tried to just make it enough of like different enough that like, even if the story of War of the Spark, that it's like, it'll feel familiar, but also just, like not too much of like a drag to kind of go back over the same.
This will be fun and it's quicker.
Yeah.
So it's not as much of a commitment.
Yeah.
Liliana Vess is my favorite planeswalker. So
well, great. So you must be enjoying it then, because she plays a really big part in the
Yeah.
saga.
So it's just like, don't mess her up and we'll be super cool.
So I guess the last thing we'll talk about, we did skip Oceans Will Take Us, which was a great book. I'm really happy that you got it all out before Aftershock had an aftershock.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. I don't know if you want to touch on anything with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's out in issues. They haven't done a trade paperback, which is kind of a bummer, but we'll see what the future holds, because I'm just not in the position where I can kind of take it back and take it anywhere else, even if it's just like the fact that they declare bankruptcy complicates everything. It's like there's like a whole hierarchy of creditors that need to get paid at what point or another, and I mean, all I can go on is just what they tell me, and they tell me that they're still very committed to the book, and are going to put out a trade paperback when it's possible. So it's one of those things. It is what it is. So I don't have any complaints with the people I work with in editorial over there. Like, I mean, Mike Martz left. He was the guy who like kind of brought the book on, but the other editors, and Brian Cunningham, who's the new editor in chief, has been very like open and communicative. So it's not like I have like an axe to grind with anyone specific over there. It's just like it's like a shitty situation.
Yeah,
I wish wasn't happening, but it is. So what can you do?
So the last thing is this Infinity. You've got a Who is Kang coming.
Yep.
And you have a very cool Ghost Rider. I don't read any of those digital comics, probably because I make comics. And so therefore digital offends me on some deeper level that I'm not ready to admit, because I don't know what my issue with digital is, because I know Todd reads a lot of digital. I do not. But that Ghost Rider one sounds fantastic, because it's exactly what I want in a Ghost Rider thing. But tell us about Ghost Rider and Who is Kang?
Yeah, so there are two digital comics there. It's different from, like, say, reading a print comic on Comixology, where it's just like like a one-to-one translation. What there are is more of like a webtoons comic, where it's an infinite scroll.
Right.
And it's really interesting because it lets you do some things that are just like kind of not possible in print, as far as transitions go. Like the Ghost Rider one, there's like, for an example, there's like one part where Johnny Blaze is hooked onto the back of Robbie Reyes' car by his chain, and he's like kind of getting dragged by it, right? So I mean, you could do that as a panel in print, but the way you're reading it is, it's like, sorry about that.
That's what Robbie Reyes did. Like that, you can't do that in print.
No, so when you're scrolling, it's not animated, but it just sort of has this feel where it's like you're kind of like you're starting with Johnny, and all you see is the chain as you go down, and then you see what he's attached to.
Like a flip book almost.
Yeah, it's almost like you're kind of like just sort of manipulating the way people like the information is given. So like where you place the captions, it can really kind of like open up a lot of interesting ways to tell the story that you can't exactly do in print. So cool. It's like very different than writing a print book, but not so different. It's just that like what you want to do is, it's like you pay a lot more attention to the space in between the panels than you do in a print book, because it doesn't have to be like and it actually works better when they're not always like completely like separate, like,
Right.
you know, with like white, like you can have like white space in between them, like you would on a page, but it also works really well sometimes when they kind of like flow into each other, or when you have stuff going on in between. Like, so you'll have a panel and then you'll have like some narration over like black or over white or whatever it is. And it's just an like different way to like pace the story. But they're a lot of fun to work on. You know, they're kind of like, they're pretty short. They work out to be about, I would say like between 20 to 24 panels a piece. Um, it's definitely like less of a job than, you know, like a full issue, but it is still pretty cool to write. And, you know, I'll take anything I can get at this point.
Yeah, I know David Peplow says he really is enjoying liking them. He said the first one was a little tough, but once he figured out the
Yeah.
rhythm he's doing them, he says I really enjoy doing it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it's like once you kind of like see the possibilities, you know what I mean,
So,
of the format, I that's what got me into it, was just sort of like, you know, because I was thinking of it just like taking a print comic and then just like, you know, putting it all in like a big row and stuff like that. But it's not. It's like there's definitely more to it. And I think when you do it right, you do it well, it's almost like if they ever did put it in print, it would actually probably lose something, you know?
Yeah,
So.
which I'm reading Lore Olympus in
Mhm.
print, which
Mhm.
they did a very, very good job at translating it, but they had to work really hard at it, you can tell,
Yeah.
and it's still not quite as good. And
Yeah.
they really tried hard. It's like, it's definitely something that lives best in that zone because it is a unique webcomic style. Digital reading is totally different. It's like in just terms of it's cool, but it's not always. I have to be in the right mood for it because I'm like, it's not like reading a comic. My brain reads it differently.
Well, I guess you could always print it on like a big like magic scroll that you could just kind of like unroll.
Parchment that you just keep unrolling. That'd be sweet. That'd be really cool. I want to get like a tube of comic.
This is so wild, but I literally had a call last week of a creator who did that and was asking me what I thought. I was just like, he did it. He sold it on Kickstarter. He's like, really proud, but I'd love to pick your brains. I was just like, well, what comic stores how are they sell it?
Right.
Like, well, they've got places. They've got places with dice. Yes, that's where they sell dice, not comics.
Yeah, right.
Over there.
Yeah, that won't fit on like whatever walls they have for their comics. That's not gonna fit there.
But I did tell him, I mean, because what is it? Radiant Black, that was the big New York Comic Con exclusive, was a scroll. It was one of their issues out in a scroll, and they made tons of money. So I may be like just not willing to accept the future.
I have a comic book that's this big, and I literally don't have anywhere to put it. It just sits on a shelf.
David is on a scroll of Ryan K. Lindsay energy. That's
funny. Oh, definitely. Yeah, Ryan did one. I think it was like newspaper sized a couple years ago. Yeah.
No,
Ryan's great.
Well, I think we've caught up to everything. We normally go a lot slower on this process, but we do the whole thing. Talk about your history. Do you have anything else that's coming out that you want to talk about a little bit? Actually, no, that's part of our questions. Don't answer that.
Yeah.
Don't answer that. Let us answer our 4 questions. So we have 4 questions we ask all of our interviews. Thank you for coming, Rich. Like I said, normally we up. I will say that Todd and I love your work. Like we talked about it before. You were one of our first people that we talked about getting on because we just love your stuff. I mean, I felt like follow Alex Cormack everywhere. I've kind of said it, like, he's who I wanted to get for my book, Greatest Day Punk. I'm very happy with my artist. I will never trade him now. But, like, I was like, all right, I know that Alex Cormack, even if I could get him, couldn't start this project for a year and a half based on his workload. So who can I get who has a similar style? And I picked Patrick Brumeyer, who I think is fantastic, and I would never trade him. But my dream is to work with Alex Cormack at some point. He is my, like, if someone goes, who do you want to work with on this project? It'd probably be Alex because I love his style. It's so unique, and he has such a unique way of, because most people when they have a style like Alex, they can do really dark things well and not
Yeah.
light. I've seen enough of his things where you bring that guy in the light, it's just as good, which is crazy.
Yeah, he's like crazy talented and like, yeah, just amazing to work with. I don't, not to make you, you know, want to work with him more, but like he's just like a very easy collaborator. Like,
Oh no, he's the worst. He sucks. It takes forever to hear from him. He's real
Yeah.
mean to me.
So basically, I need a $20,000 Kickstarter and go, Alex, how much of this do you need?
There you go. Then I'll get pissed off because I'll be like, "No, dude, you got to work. You got to finish this before."
We're in issue 4, man. What are
We'll
you
be
doing?
like,
Well, and I love so much of his stuff. Like I get mad, like the crossing isn't done. Like, I
Yeah.
just finished. I was like, you're not doing the crossing, or it's like I'm such a. In fact, I'm not a big weed guy. Like I even got his weed book. I was just like, all right,
Oh yeah.
I'll read it. That's fine. I don't like pod books, but fine.
You know how you know someone's not a big marijuana enthusiast? When they say I'm not a big weed guy.
See?
That's when you know they really aren't.
All right. So here's our questions. You want to start? I start, right, Todd?
Yeah.
All right.
Traditionally.
Rich, what do you think makes you stand out in the current comic market?
See, if I knew that, I would probably be more successful.
Lean into it more.
Not that I'm not successful,
And
but
I need to get that information so I can be more successful. This is the whole thing, Rich.
I got it. Okay. I think what makes me stand out is I tell like, I think the stories I tell are fairly complex and they don't really like try to hold the reader's hand too much. I think a lot of comics kind of don't give the audience enough credit as far as like being able to read something critically and not have like their hand held throughout the whole thing. And I don't like doing that. I like people to kind of engage with the work and, ask them to like work a little bit, and it doesn't, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Like, some people don't like it. Some critics writing stuff online don't like it, but it's like if you either get it or you don't. And if you get it, I think, you love it. So,
there is a shocking low level of exposition. There's not like and then this happens because of this, which is nice. I appreciate it. It makes you feel like you're watching it and experiencing it instead of being like told it.
Yeah, I think that's something that like, it's like a push and pull, because it's like you want people to like know enough to like understand like what's going on and stuff, but also like I find that like as long as people know, like as long as you have like an idea what's going on, like you don't need to know like every single last detail.
Yeah,
like
just come along for the ride then at that point. Like,
exactly.
See where this goes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that
I know where their mouth is. This is fine.
I don't know, because I've read CSRs and I did not know where the mouth was, and I was
exactly.
Well, you know where you think it is, but then
perfect.
There's a couple of mouths involved. So, yeah.
Oh, there's more than one. So I love that. What makes you keep going when it's difficult? When the things are getting real shitty and it's just like, why am I doing this? I chose this profession. Yeah. Why did I choose this profession? What keeps that motivation? What keeps you wanting to produce more?
It's hard. I mean, it gets really like dark sometimes, where it's just like you just sort of feel like you're throwing shit against the wall and like, nobody is paying any attention to you. it's almost like it's almost harder like the further you go with it, because I mean I remember with like my first few comics, wasn't really expecting anybody to notice or care, because who the hell am I? So it was like very kind of easy to deal with the fact that like I had to work extra hard to like kind of get my stuff in front of people. It's then when you've been doing it for a while and you feel like you still got to work just as freaking hard, you're just like, it's hard. You sometimes feel like you're not making progress, and it's really tough. But I think, um, number one, I almost don't feel like I have a choice, because if I don't create, I wind up getting really like depressed, and I feel like shit, and I don't want to feel that way. And it's sort of like whenever I get in one of those things, and then I like force myself to like write something or do something, I start feeling better. So it's just sort of like this outlet that like I need to do for my own, um, mental health, I guess. And then the other thing is that, um, what I try to do is have something in every story that I work on that I'm getting something out of, like that I'm like curious about or working through, like, um, in a lot of ways, Road of Bones and Sea of Sorrows and Breath of Shadows, like they're, um, they are like stories that are about the things that they're about. Like Road of Bones is about like, you know, these three guys trudging through the tundra, but it's about like bigger stuff too. Like, it's about like what people will like, what lengths they'll go to, like when they're really pushed, and like as far as like survival, like, how far would you go to survive? And that's something that I thought was like interesting. And I, even if I wasn't going to like publish it, it's something that I would think about and want to know, like, like want to know the answer to those questions, or get as close to an answer as possible. Cause I don't think there is really an answer. It's like, it's different for everybody, but it's like, it's almost like like if I hadn't written Rotobones, I'd still probably be thinking about like the themes and stuff that were going on there. So it's like, so when I'm working on a project, or thinking about a new project, I really try to find something to latch on to that like I want to explore. And then it's almost like, even if everything goes wrong with it, at least I'm getting like that out of it.
Right.
Does it like keep, because yeah, like, it's a thought experiment for you that you play out with an
Kind of, yeah.
artist. And do you not think about that then, and do you move on to the next thought experiment then, that once you get it out of your brain and out into the world, does it actually like eject out of you then too?
Not really. I mean, it's it's just sort of like it comes back in like different ways, like, because Sea of Sorrows is like similar to Road of Bones in that, it's like people stuck in like a really shitty situation, and like, are
That
they gonna
maybe should just like go away, but they don't.
fuck each other? Like they're not like at to the point where they're like eating each other, but like are they gonna like fuck each other over? Are they gonna,
Yeah,
like, so it's sort of like it comes back like as many times as it needs to, and expresses itself in different ways and things like that.
that's cool.
But it's really just like, yeah, I think like a big, they say like, kind of like write the books you want to read, and like I
Mhm.
think that's like a big part of being able to like keep going, is that it's like if nobody else in the world wants to read it, at least I know one person wants to read it, and that's me. So
Mhm.
it's not to say that it's always easy, or like I have like times when I get really discouraged, but it's just like that's kind of like the rope I hold on to, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So number three is, what does leveling up look like for you? And I always give a little caveat to this. So for me, my goal is to work for the big two and
Mhm.
do something. That's my goal. It's not everyone's goal, but what's your goal as a creative?
So, I mean, yeah, I really want to work for the big two as well. I've gotten like a little bit. I'd love to get more.
Hmm.
Um, it's really hard to get work from them, to the point where I almost like don't want to. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if I could kind of like wipe that desire out of my heart and like just focus on my own stuff, I'd probably be a much happier person. But I want to do what I want to do. But I don't kind of see it that as the end point. And I don't think it's the end point for like a lot of people. I think there's like a few people that do manage to work for them for like, a decade or more or whatever, and really do like the largest part of their careers there. I just want to like have the opportunity to work with some of the characters that I've loved for like a long time, and would just love the opportunity to work with. But like long term, yeah, I just want to keep putting out my own stuff. But I would love to have a nice long multi-year detour into writing superheroes.
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, but I don't necessarily see it as like leveling. I mean, I guess it is like leveling up, but it's not leveling up in the terms of like like you know skill or something like that. It's just
Sure.
it's just sort of like um, just something I'd really like to do. But yeah,
Yeah. I like to point out to creators and especially even to myself sometimes, even if I got to work there, it's like signing a 5 year lease, right? Like you,
yeah,
because most people are there for 3 to 10 years at the most, and then they're gone. Like they've moved on and they've gone on to the new set of writers and creators, stuff like
yeah.
that. So you're literally working to get to the top so you can be fired.
But it's like it's like what you move on to, and
Mhm.
like take a look at like Scott Snyder or like James Tynion, even though I think James still does some DC stuff, but like
Yeah, nice
they've
house
they,
stuff.
they've kind of like got to the point where like Scott had an epic Batman run,
Right.
Justice League, uh, did a whole universe ending crisis type event, death metal, so it's like he's probably did everything he wanted to do there, and then it was just like, okay, well, what next? It's like he could either you know sit back and like do nothing, or but he like kind of used the whatever fame he got there to springboard his own stuff and make stuff that is like even bigger, um over like it seems like he's working like everywhere now, but like on his own stuff, Substack, on his,
Sure.
he's getting into film, getting into TV. So it's like I think that's kind of like the ideal kind of path to follow is like you take the shot if you're lucky enough to get it, take the shot to work with whatever characters you can, like with Marvel and DC, and get your name out that way. But then if you can bring those people to your own projects, like your own older projects, and if they get, and then newer stuff, I think that's kind of the way to do it long term.
Sweet. Last and final question. That's a grand scoping, here's my career. This question is, what's next? What do you see along that trajectory? What's your next level up?
All right. Well, I mean, it's working with a wider spectrum of publishers. So I'm going to be. It's already kind of underway. I have like a bunch of stuff planned for later in the year that unannounced, so I can't really talk about it. But like with new publishers,
Cool.
that I haven't worked with before, that are really excited to work with. So I think that's going to be kind of like my next thing is
Stuff I'll see in Diamond while I'm perusing it.
yeah. I mean, like if I do it right, then like by the end of the year, you'll be like sick of seeing my name in previews
Nice.
because there'll be like
Hell yeah.
a lot of books out there. And then like yeah, like doing more work for Marvel and DC, like in print would be huge for me, but I think there's no way to really kind of like force that. You know what I mean? Like I have editors that I talk to and I'm friendly with, and I send them work as I do it, just to keep them updated with like like what's going on with me. But I can't make them read it. I can't make them want to hire me for like a certain book. All I can really do at this point is when opportunities do come, I jump on them and write my little heart out.
Yeah.
Like when I got the Star-Lord thing, I wrote that as if it would be the one and only Marvel book I would ever get. That's why you've got the X-Men in there, you've got the Avengers, and a couple of Avengers in there. I was just like, throw everyone I would love to have in there. Like let's put it in there, and the worst they can be like is just be like, no, let's cut this panel, or this one can't be in there, or that one can't be in there. But I just try to, every time I get an assignment from them, I just really just throw my whole whole heart into it and try to do a good job and make it a very easy experience for whoever I'm working with, as far as like being communicative and being on time. And then you just kind of have to hope that it all adds up, and pays off down the road. So
I like it. Preemptive swan songs.
Well, I think that Wasteland read like that, definitely read, and it fit the theme of the Wasteland stuff, because I read a couple of the other ones too. But I think it was very, very good, and a great character. You got really lucky on the character that they gave you. I think Star-Lord, great character. I think they keep trying to figure out how to make Star-Lord bigger than he is, instead of just letting him be. Like, here's Old Man Star-Lord, here's Star-Lord Mini, no, just let him be Star-Lord. It's fine.
Star-Lord. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it was a really fun thing to work on. Like, if I never would have guessed in a million years that would be something they asked me to work on, just because like I never really wrote anything like cosmic or whatever. It was just like, would you want to write Old Man Star-Lord? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's almost like just that's where they had the opening, and that's my name came up for whatever reason, and I was really happy to do it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
But that's it, Richard. Rich, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you guys for having me. Again, I'm really sorry.
No, stop apologizing. Stop apologizing.
No, like I should have let you. I have been feeling well the last couple of days, so I took Sunday off, and then today I just didn't message you. In fact, when I did a post about it, I forgot to tag you, and I was like, it's fine. It'll be there. And if I would have tagged you, I know you would have remembered. You're good.
Yeah, I'm sure if you had tagged me, I would have definitely been like, oh, fuck. Yeah.
Right.
So, but like, we'll do it again soon, and an hour earlier than we did. So.
We normally go this long anyways, to be honest.
Oh, okay, good.
It's happened. Yeah. We try not to, but it has happened.
Right. Well, because we really love the people we bring on this. We were trying to bring people that we love. Todd's coming on as a fan. I'm coming on as a creator. Because I started my first Diamond route this year. So I decided that let's do this year. As I'm leveling up, let me get people, my peers who talk to me, who's willing to return my messages, right. and get them on the show and talk to about it as I'm leveling up, see what maybe I'm missing. maybe what other people are, because I think there's a lot of people who do shows, but the shows are all about what's your Kickstarter or what's your latest thing, let's move on. And that's not what we want to do. We want to talk about your career, because I don't think people talk about the full history of people. And I think someone who
Yeah.
listens to this will get more out of you as a creator, because all your work have killed it that I've read. So everything is.
Yeah, it's like it's really interesting, and it's great to, I think, be able to talk about it, like, frankly, just because, like, I know careers look very different from the outside than they do from the inside. You know what I mean? Like, you guys know Jim Zub?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jim actually once said something really, like, I thought was like pretty profound. He was like, when you're looking at everyone else's career, it looks like it's going in fast forward, and when you look at your own, it feels like it's going in slow motion. So it's like, it's just kind of
100%.
like, yeah, it's just like very, because when you're looking at other people, it's like you're really kind of only seeing the highlight reel. You're seeing like this, the successful stuff. You're not always seeing like kind of like the struggles that it takes to like get there. So yeah, I love like kind of going in depth and like really talking about it. And like, I'll be like as honest as I can without like incriminating anyone or talking about stuff I'm not supposed to talk about. But other than that, I'm like an open book. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think when you look at other people's career, it's hard, because I always, oh, well, how did they get that deal? How did they do this? And then the other thing is, even on the other thing, if I would have had a similar deal, I could have done this. And like you go through this whole path, and you're like, oh, I didn't create a book today because I was focusing on what I could have, would have, should have, would have. When I just need to make my stuff and stay in my lane.
Yeah. Just keep your head down, keep putting stuff out, and that puts you like ahead of the game, honestly, because most people that want to create, just like, that's where it ends, is that they want to do it and they keep talking about doing it, and they never actually do it. And and that's why, a big reason why they don't get anywhere with it. It's like, I couldn't tell you the number of people who, like, said stuff like, like, oh, like, I could write so much better, like, stuff for DC, like they screwed up their like whole thing, like, their whole storyline, like, I should just go in there and like, take over, it would be so awesome. And it's like, okay, well, there's a path to do that. May not work out for you, but it's like, you'll be like further along, like if you actually start writing some of your own comics. It's like they just don't hire people off the street. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people think that like you could like send them like a story idea or something, not have any experience, not have anything, and like the story would just be so good that they have to do it. And it's like,
but they're not going to open the email, and they're not going to open the mail.
They're not going to open the email, but that's also not how it works. It's because everybody has a Batman story that they think would be fucking awesome, and it's like, it's like, the way to get to write Batman is to, write your own stuff, and hopefully get it, get some Batman editors to like look at it and like it.
Ooh,
and and also be extremely lucky of like, there being like an open slot and something. So it's but it's just sort of saying that you could do the work without like showing you can do the work. It just doesn't do anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there's too many people who have already showed that they can do it to choose from.
Exactly.
I have a whole comic book wall at my shop full of them. It's a lot of people who are able. The luck part is huge, but then you got to be out there to be picked. Yeah. You got to be visible.
Yeah,
I think that's the hardest thing, is figuring out the editor. Like I was the other day, like, oh, I need to send my stuff to the Turtles editor because I'm from Ninja Turtles. Like I'm from Rochester, New Hampshire. I think I'd be a good fit. Let me send him some of my stuff. And then I was like looking at the book, and I was like, there's 4 editors on this book. I don't even know which one to send it to. So it gets wild trying to figure that out. And it's such a full-time job. Like I don't think people understand. Like once I always thought like, oh, Direct Market's going to be easy because they'll take care of it. No, they don't. You have to take care of it. You have to sell those books. It's a whole separate thing. It's not. There's no free ride like people keep thinking. And then since I started getting into Diamond, people have messaged me, hey, where's this publisher that's going to magically sell me 1 million copies so I could be rich? Well, if they did that, they do that to every single book they have. It's not working.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's like, you have to be very kind of like stubborn in a way, because it's not like, unless you got like supremely lucky, it's like there's a lot of like kind of like banging your head against the wall. So you just sort of have to like be that guy or gal that gets knocked down 10 times and gets up for number 11. That's just how it is.
All right. Well, I think we've leveled up. It doesn't sound like we leveled up that end quote, but it is a level.
I love it. That's my favorite place to end. Is just like fucking pick yourself up, or find something.
No, just keep picking yourself
Those
up.
are your two options.
And it's like, I mean, like for all the here's a better one to end on. For all the trials and tribulations that you go through, there's almost no greater feeling than like holding that kind of finished product in your hand or on your screen or wherever you're putting it out there, and just sort of like feeling that sense of like accomplishment, that like something that was just like in your head is now out in the world, and it's amazing. And at the end of the day, money, career, like all that stuff can happen or not happen, but it's like at least you have that, and that's really important. So
so what you're saying, if you're playing Punch Out and you got Mike Tyson, you get to fight Mike Tyson at the end. But if you didn't get the Mike Tyson version, you got to fight some random guy who looks like Mike Tyson. It's still gonna be good because you beat the game. I get it. I feel it.
The Punch Out metaphor.
The old Punch Out metaphor.
That cliche, that old gem, shining it up for this show.
And I think we've leveled up, Todd.
Yes, I do too.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, you guys.
Check out Rich's stuff. I've got his site in the description and his Twitter. From there, you can find all the other things that you could possibly want to find that involve Douek and or his other creative endeavors. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody else.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Have a great night.
You
Thank
too.
you, everybody.